Good evening, everyone. This is Luminous Tutorials with Obio Genewaro, and today we'll be continuing on our last, continuing from our last lecture, talking about how to name compounds. Okay, and if you've not watched our previous video on valency and electronic configuration, I advise you to go back and watch our videos. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and comment on the comment section. Okay, so now we'll continue. Naming of compounds. Okay, now naming of compounds. Now the first one must know, under naming of compound, I want to treat other two things. A compound, we divide compound into two types. Right, we have the binary compound and non-binary compounds. First of all, I want to start from there. Now, what are binary compounds? Binary compounds are compounds that contains only two elements. Take note of my statement, only two elements. Are you there? And number two, they must end with the suffix IDE. Does it make sense? They must end with what? IDE. Carbon 4 oxide, sulfide, etc. Am I communicating? Now let's take one example. Let's say name the following compounds. Number one, we have SO2. Number two, we have what? FeCl3. Please don't mind me. FeCl3. Are we good? That's Cl3. Are you there? And then let's take one more. N2O. Are you there? So now let's name them one by one. So the first one we have was what? Was SO2. And this is how I name it. Please watch me. Now in naming this compound, are you there? Now I will start from this. Watch me. First of all, this is a binary compound. Yes, it has sulfur and then it has what? Oxygen. Only two elements. So look what I'm going to do. To name this compound, I would say sulfur is the first one, right? So I'll say sulfur. I'll give a gap. Oxygen. I told you that what binary compound must end with what? IDE. So I'll create a name for it. Instead of oxygen, I'll make sure it has a name that has IDE. So oxygen will become oxide. If it was chlorine, it becomes chloride. If it was sulfur that was at the end, it becomes sulfide. If it was bromine that was at the end, it becomes what? Bromide. Am I communicating? Now, because sulfur comes before this gap here, are you seeing before this space here? I will say let sulfur be my unknown. Sulfur should be my what? Unknown, which means I want to get the oxidation number of sulfur. I want to know what number sulfur is in this. So let me see, sulfur is what? Is Y. I don't know sulfur. Sulfur is what? Is Y. Now, if you went through our last video on what? Electronic configuration, what is the valency of oxygen? It's -2. Is that not? How do we know? If you don't know it, just to a little recap, oxygen is what? Is the 8th element, which means it's 2,6. This is the configuration of oxygen. Is that not? 2,6. What does it need to become stable? It needs 2 minus 2. That's how we got -2. Please go back to our previous video on valency. Am I communicating? Now let's solve. Look at it now. How many sulfur is here? Is it only one sulfur? Yes, only one sulfur. 1 times Y is what? Is Y. How many oxygen is here? It's not 2 oxygen. Yes. 2 times -2, which is the valency. What do you have? -4. It will be all equal to what? 0, because look at it. The question I gave you, there was nothing here. It's equal to 0. There was no charge initially. Are you there? So collect like terms. Y will be equals to, carry -4 to the right hand side. This is your right hand, this is your left hand side. So if you carry -4 there, it becomes what? 0 plus 4. And that will be equals to what? 4. Please, does this make sense? So therefore the name of this compound is what? Is sulfur 4 oxide. Please, am I communicating? Now let's say the second one, F is Cl3. So you come, number 2, we have FeCl3. Now how do we name this compound? What do we say? What is the first? Is it a binary compound? Yes, that's 2 elements, iron and chlorine. So therefore, it's a binary element and compound. What is Fe? Fe is what? Iron. Give a gap. Chlorine becomes what? Chloride. I tell you, it must end with IDE. Chloride. Is it not? Shall you discover that after the iron, I gave this gap? We say, let your iron be your unknown. We don't know what iron is, but we know that the valency of chlorine is what? -1. True or false? Please check back our previous video. So we'll now ask ourselves, how many iron is here? It's 1, and there's no other number at the bottom, so it's only 1 iron. So 1 times the x on top is what? Is x. Am I communicating? So we have x. Then here 3 times -1, that will give us what? -3. So we have x minus 3 equal to what? 0. Am I communicating? That will give us what? S equals to what? 3. Therefore, this is what? Iron trichloride. Does this make sense? So what about the last one, which is what? Number 3. We have N2O. 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 Now how do we name this? Is this a binary compound? Yes, it is. Nitrogen and oxygen, making it 2. So it becomes what? Nitrogen. Give a gap. Oxygen becomes what? I believe we all know now, right? Becomes what? Becomes oxide. You are correct. Oxide. Because it must end with IDE if it's a binary compound. Does it make sense? Now, this is nitrogen. We don't know what it is. Now, say after nitrogen I gave this gap. It should be X. What about here? Oxygen. Do we know the valency of oxygen? Yes, I taught you last time. And it's what? -2. Now, let's see. How many nitrogen is here? 2. How many oxygen is here? 1. Let's multiply. 2 nitrogen times S is what? It's not 2x. So we have 2x. Now, 1 oxygen times -2 equals to what? -2. Or equal to what? 0, because this is a compound. Equals to 0. So, colored items, all number come to your right hand side. That'll be what? 2s equals to 0 plus 2, which means 2s equals to 2. Am I communicating? And if you divide, s cancel s, what does it give us? Gives us what? 1. Therefore, this is what? Nitrogen 1 oxide. That is popularly referred to as what? As a laughing gas. Laughing gas. Am I communicating? Alright. Now, I will drop some questions for you and see. You try it for me. Let me see. Test your understanding.